I mean, I would say I was like a little worried that we better perform, but I have reps, so we're going to be fine.
There it is.
Katie is a hype man, though, for the ages. That one.
No, that was great. In hip hop, you always need a good hype man or hype woman or hype person. You need one.
So we are here to talk about storytelling, I think primarily, and narratives. But I want to start by talking about your evolution and how you got to the work that you're doing now, from the Hip Hop Caucus to advising Mike Bloomberg on climate initiatives and storytelling. Tell us about what you're up to and why this particular part of this conversation is so important.
Well, I think, the key thing for me is being authentic. And for me, it's about caring for your people. Folks who don't know, I'm originally from Louisiana. The drawl may give me away throughout the conversation. But I'm really from Louisiana. I was born right outside of Cancer Alley, which is an 85-mile stretch of land between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And it's called Cancer Alley because the petrochemical facilities, many of the other industries that are there are causing people to have high levels of cancer. Literally, their business plan means a death sentence from our community. And so that part is where I was born, but then the other part was the part where Hurricane Katrina, and it's amazing, and it's going to make a lot of you feel really, really old in a second, but this year marks the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And so that being from Louisiana and seeing your community washed away really dictated where I would go with this work. And thank goodness for the Hip Hop Caucus, which was an organization that was using their cultural expression to shape their political experience and using the ability to use culture to help people to come back home. And so we were actually honored with the Lataya Moffitt Human Rights Award for that organization. But then fast forward, I think that for me, when you are just fighting for humanity along the way, doesn't matter if it's black, white, brown, red, male, female, straight, gay, theist, atheist, human, and you're fighting for that, that puts you in different circles. So that obviously aligned me with Mayor Mike, who liked the work, and I've been very fortunate now to be advising him and Bloomberg Philanthropies on what is now the largest philanthropic endeavor for climate, literally giving out over $1 billion to help solve this crisis. So it's a great position to be in, and definitely just excited to be part of this conversation.
How much is it, this conversation is meaningful for me personally because I had a crisis of faith in storytelling at the end of my journalism career, went into venture capital thinking, I just need to write checks, right? Like, we don't have time to change minds. We don't have time to portray this. We don't have time to tell stories. And then immediately was like, I was terribly wrong. We have to tell stories. And that is part of what you're doing at Bloomberg, right? Talk about why it is so important to really, I don't know, get the stories told, right?
Well, stories are critical for many, many reasons. Let me actually first, before I even say anything else, let me just say that I'm so glad to be here with Green Biz and in Phoenix. I was actually with one of the new Congress people from Arizona outside of EPA who couldn't get into their EPA building because of the whole new DOGE situation, and which was so unfortunate. And in that, one of the things that she mentioned was the fact that there was over 143 days in which this community faced over 100-degree weather. She mentioned as well how catastrophic that was. We know that because, and this is a little bit of a trigger, but we need to have real talk, is that people who were unhoused, literally, it was so hot, could not disconnect themselves from the sidewalk because it was so hot. That's a crisis. Last year, I was very blessed to get the Forbes 50 award, which is 50 people who they say in the planet are the best on sustainability. I have fun with that because they say that I say I was 50 and then Elon Musk was 51, so he didn't get in the list. So
I still think you had him beat,
I,
personally.
I appreciate that.
Well,
I,
we know what's up in this room.
yeah, no, I'm with it. But I think that the key thing for me is that last year being the hottest year, I would trade all that in if we could solve our crisis. I would trade all the awards in if we could help the folks who lost everything with the fires in Los Angeles. I would trade everything in for those who lost literally Asheville, North Carolina. I would trade everything in for us to have our communities back. So I say that is that we now in a position where we have to now tell those stories. And we have to tell the stories in a way that it's not just a climate story or it's a Democrat story or a Republican story, but it needs to be a good story and a human story that allows for us to, as humans on this planet, to fix this crisis. The thing that's the worst thing to me is that 100 years from now, in 21, 25, none of us in this room right now will be here. If you are here, it means you found some really good drugs. But more likely, you probably won't.
That one podcast guy figured it out. Or
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. One of us would be still here. I was at Green Beers, 125. Pete, rock and roll. And so the thing for me is that what will be here will be if those humans have clean air and clean water. If they're not suffering, not just with 143 degrees of 100-degree weather here in Phoenix, and it's not 360 degrees of 100 degree, we have to do better. And I believe that stories using media, using music, using culture, and I'm very blessed that at Bloomberg, they're also working to finance that part of the solution as well.
Mm-hmm. And part of it sounds like, at least under your remit, is broadening the messaging, right? Reaching more right-leaning audiences, or even maybe just people who aren't thinking about it.
Yeah, my hat literally says plastics are fossil fuels. And one of the things, oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I heard one clap for the hat. Usually, I got some more provocative hats I could have worn to get y'all. But I ain't feel that was the right hat to wear, the green beers thing. So I would say that one of the things that's important in this conversation is in regards to petrochemicals, for instance, I'm from Catcher Alley, plastics. On the right, or I hate to say the right, this on the other side, people who may disagree, just not disagree, because we're all humans, I hate to say that, and I hate to divide us. But in that conversation, one side is concerned about plastics because of what it's doing to them and their health and petrochemical facilities. The other side, and I heard Joe Rogan talk about this, is that they're realizing that plastic is affecting men's sperm count. And for some reason, it's also plastic is making men's junk a little smaller. So that has them on board. I'm not sure why that would be the thing. You would think the wildfires, the hurricanes, the droughts, but hey, if your junk getting smaller is what gets you in to the conversation, then here you are. So so I think that that is very.
I mean, no entertainment ever went wrong by focusing on men's junk.
Yeah, well, that's
right?
That's
common ground.
That's Especially
men care about their junk, and women know that men care about their junk.
Especially as we heard this. Yeah, we get the picture. So what do we got to do to solve the climate crisis? We got it. If that gets the other side either excited or look like they're excited, how you want to put it, then that puts us in a position where we can solve this crisis. I think that our movement has been doing documentaries and doing things that are phenomenal, make you cry, but they aren't crossing over the line. And good storytelling is critical for us to begin to connect the dots. I was too young, to really comprehend. But my parents used to watch a show with Archie Bunker, and I didn't quite get it because I was like. But later on, as I would watch the reruns or watch that show later on, I watched how it would connect the dots and allow for communities who weren't together to be together. And so I think that storytelling has to do that now. So I'm hopeful that what we can do at Hip Hop Caucus, who is on the front line and first line and doing some amazing storytelling and has done some things on that. And then my work with Bloomberg, I'm also hopeful that in those campaigns, and just for the record, the campaigns we have at Bloomberg, we love the word beyond at Bloomberg. It's just a word that we use for everything, I think. And so we have beyond carbon, beyond petrochemicals, cities, oceans. But in that, we understand the importance of storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of broadening audiences beyond the new hat that I hope you'll make, which is like protect your junk from plastic.
I know. Actually, you know what's so funny? I was someplace, I said the same story, and a scientist is trying to get me a hat that has it on it. She's like, something like free sperm. I don't know what but I'm like, man, I will wear that hat just because the planet is burning, but my goodness, the stakes are high.
He's like, really? This is what it takes? Okay, but we need to not only reach the worried about the junk crowd.
Yes.
You have also talked about the fact that the environmental movement itself may need a different form of storytelling that may need to be brought along, right? Like you've talked about it. It started as this Ben and Jerry's Birkenstock moment, and now the storytelling needs to even, I think, be broader than how this movement has traditionally defined itself.
And that's important for this conversation. So I love the green biz because I think here we have folks who understand that being sustainable is, an amazing business component. And I hope, if nothing else in this conversation, you do not slow down on your efforts. You're doing good work. Yes. You're doing good work and important work. And the work you're doing is a work that the rest of the world is on par with. Even other countries that may be, quote unquote, far right, they're all still aligned on this mission. So if you were to slow down for some reason, because of the next 2 or 4 years, you will be doing yourself and your business a disservice. So do not do that, because you will be behind the curve on where the rest of the world is. Step one. Step two, the modern day climate movement, which is different. So there's obviously the conservation movement and then the modern day climate movement, which really takes place between 1968 and 1972. And in that time frame, it's the creation of the EPA and also the first Earth Day. And one of the things interesting about that is a lot of things that are happening. There is a burgeoning women's movement, a burgeoning civil rights movement. Dr. King has just been assassinated. We have a strong queer rights movement. We have many movements that are happening, an anti-war movement. And the climate movement emerges, but it silos itself. It kind of doesn't go along. It's there, but not really there. That has created a problem because as we move forward to needing an intersectional environmental movement, we now have this situation where you, particularly those in business, you can't operate in a silo business structure. You're wondering why, as you're trying to put forth something that makes sense for everybody, the movement itself is either Vermont or Sonoma County. Nothing. I love both those places, so please, nothing against them. Or, as you just heard, Birkenstock or Ben and Jerry's, and I love both. I'm not sure. I don't think I have any Birkenstocks, but I love Ben and Jerry's.
That would have been a surprise.
Yeah.
Me.
I wouldn't mind that though. I wouldn't if there's somebody here who's at Birkenstock.
Really good for your back or whatever.
There you go. See, you got to sell everything. You know what I mean? So in this process, the movement has become siloed, segregated, and not good for business. And in this process, we then have to relook at a movement that is global, that is in need of. There is nothing that connects us more than this conversation about being sustainable. It's not just the 300+ million people in America, it's the globe. That's the exciting part. But the part that we're missing, and we're missing in this movement, is that they don't quite understand how to bring the entire world in. If we can do that, that's actually the burden and the blessing. The burden is we are in a real crisis. No doubt about it. It is very scary. No doubt about that. But if we can unify ourselves, connect the dots, then we could be in a position not only save the only planet we know, but to save humanity itself. And that's an amazing, both terrifying situation, but also an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. Right? I want to end it there because it's so beautiful, but I'm not wasting my last 2 minutes with you.
No.
Don't think that I'm done here. Talk very briefly, if you would, about the role of philanthropy at this exact moment. Philanthropy has been such a tiny part of climate donation. I think something like 2% of philanthropic dollars, maybe 4 tops, go toward climate initiatives. We are at a moment where business may pull back, but I hope not. Governments may pull back, but hopefully not all of them. Where does philanthropy fill that gap?
I mean, so that's a great piece. I will say the same question, same thing I showed all of you, that I say this in all of my meetings with my philanthropic friends at other foundations. They have to be strong, and they have to still go hard. I think there's a lot of folks politically who are pulling back. I hope that you're not pulling back, again, politically. And I think that in the philanthropic world, we need to do better. I will say this. We, out of 12 foundations that gave out $1.3 billion, only 1.3% of that went to environmental justice, women-led organizations. And a lot of that is not going into venture and green biz. So we have to do a better job of investing in those things so we can spur. I would say that there's something called that we have at Bloomberg called Earthshot. Please check it out. It's the Earthshot Prize and Earthshot Summit. We do it every year during Climate Week. Please check that out. It's something that we actually are looking, if you want to be involved and you think you have innovations, it's a great place to use that platform. And I'll say this, I guess one of my final things is that it's important to invest in groups that are on the ground in all these communities. And Hip Hop Caucus, I'm telling you, it's turned 20 years last year, and it's one of the most amazing groups that you can work with. And if you want to work with urban communities on the ground, Hip Hop Caucus is your organization to work with.
Yearwood, everybody, doing the work, not going to stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.